Hey, 101. Hopefully you're doing well, and hopefully you're following your local guidelines and doing your part to keep us all well, because, that escalated quickly. I mean, not maybe perhaps Joe Exotic craziness in the Tiger King quickly, but perhaps, that show, just if you're not watching, whoa. I keep thinking there's no way this can get any weirder. And the show's like, oh yeah, hold my beer. It's impressive. Anyway, I find that in these troubled times, that the more I'm trapped to stay indoors and work on the computer, I find that hitting F5 is refreshing. F refresh. Okay, we've been doing a lot of work with rhetorical analysis, mainly at making you ask questions of other people's works in ways that pull apart their own argument, aka a rhetorical analysis. You are looking at the rhetoric of someone else. Usually, rhetorical analyses formally are left without your engagement, right? It is just cold, hard discussion of how something moves and what it does. So now you've got to write your own. About what you ask, well, we'll get into that later. Um, the other things that you'll see when you are on the Canvas page, and we'll look at them each individually here in screenshots in a second, but that you've got chapter 7 to read from your book. Incidentally, if you don't have our version of the book, it can be a big help to you. We'll look at that here at the end here in a second. But I can get you a virtual link to it. Please let me know via email, and I can get you the book, the exact version I'm using, and that way, everything is the same. It's good until June, and it's free. So, if you need it, let me know. Um, right, you've got chapter 7 to read, and you've got to look at your own rough draft analysis and a peer review for it. I've also included a link to just basic questions to ask of things that are kind of the answers then that become the meat of your rhetorical analysis. Things to ask about meaning and audience or language or purpose. Questions that you can ask of any text, right? They're blank question stems. They're like a Mad Libs of questions. You fill in the author or title, and then the answer is usually content that finds its way into a rhetorical analysis. Anyway, let's take a look at those now.
Welcome to week 12. Okay, here's your chapter 7. Okay, if you check it out, shouldn't be that difficult. Read They Say I Say, chapter 7, answer the following questions in a Word doc, and upload. Giving you 2 points a question this time because they require a little bit of explanation. Plus, you have to have chosen this in order to try this, right? This week is rhetorical analysis week, which means that you need to make a choice of what you want to rhetorically analyze at the very beginning of the week. So I would go here first, even though chapter 7 is due first, because you need a source that you're going to work with or think about as you go through chapter 7. This week, you are going to complete your own rhetorical analysis of a subject of your choice, and you're going to be able to look at and sort of critically analyze the moves that it makes in the argument that it's attempting to engage in. This could be controlled by rhetorical appeal, though it need not be. Perhaps some of the best are composed by analyzing the thing in the way in which it moves organically, meaning I talk about the moves that the author makes in their introduction, and then I talk about the moves that they make in their first part, whatever you want to chunk it up into, and I talk about what they do in their third part, right? Rather than saying, here's all the ethos grouped together, here's all the pathos grouped together, here's all the logos grouped together. Instead, what did I see in the beginning? What do I see in the middle? What do I see near the end? And what is it doing, right? But to do that, you need to make a choice about what your source is. So, arguments, right, just like the visual ones that you did, come at us in a variety of ways every day. In this case, I want you to choose something that you're interested in. Think in terms of the project that you did visually, but now you're doing it on your own. How are you, or what are you interested in as far as in terms of you're paying to be here and engaging in this course? Let's put it to your use, right? How is nursing looking at issues of health and safety in competing with the coronavirus currently, right? What are their recommendations? What are the arguments being made? If it's a large opinion or a popular opinion in a newspaper or a television source, what's being said about it? Analyze it, think about it, right? Critique some of it as the mind of a nurse, or look at it in terms of environmental science. Some of the links are being made between some of the environmental catastrophes and climate change and sort of the development of these new pandemics. So, what about that, right? Use what you're interested in as a way to choose your source. But ultimately, you can be anything. It can be visual or textual. And I've got examples at the end of this that you can look at from your textbook. Again, if you need a copy of the text, email me. Okay. So your ad photo text should reflect some social issue you are interested in exploring for the remainder of the semester. This could be from a web page, a print ad, a painting used as an ad argument, or even a combination of both. Yes, you want to consider the use of the ethos, pathos, and logos present. This includes text as well as any images being used, right? If you're watching a TED Talk and there's something going on behind them with the charts that they're using or the things that they're saying, that's all fair game, right? Consider the layout and design of the ad or the photo or any additional elements associated with the medium, right? Evaluate the effectiveness of the argument in consideration of the mentioned criteria. Think in terms of what we did with the documentary films in class. Any composition also has an intended audience to which its proposal is directed. As you analyze the rhetoric of your subject, be sure to relate how this indicates the target audience. What's their gender? What's their race? What's their age? What's their socioeconomic position? What's their politics? What's their interests? Those things are all accounted for in one form or fashion, if not directly by the author or the director, then definitely by the place of publication, how this thing was unrolled, right? So to just say, well, it appeals to anybody is intellectually lazy. Instead, what? And it reinforces and changes or establishes the assumptions around that target audience, right? What does this assume about parents or students, or what does this assume about nursing and engineers or environmental engineers? And then the rest of this is pretty much self-explanatory and similar to everything that we've done for major essay grades so far. So cover it, particularly this. Just because you're doing a visual doesn't mean you don't need to do this, right? And there are ways to do it. I'll show you more of those from the two examples from the book. But you need to decide early on this week what you want your subject to be that you are going to rhetorically analyze. Once you have that, you can take it and engage in Chapter 7 reading of They Say, I Say, which is due by April 5th. Then you'll be able to complete number 2 here, right? As well as some of the other questions. So choose your source, then complete Chapter 7. Then you got to complete your own draft of this thing by the 9th, right? And make sure that you've submitted it so that they get automatically given a peer review. You have to complete both your draft and the peer review for full credit on this assignment. Completing the draft alone gets you at least the B on the final. But for this particular assignment, you need to complete the peer review as well to get the full amount of points. How can you complete the peer review draft? You can either use the insert comment function, since everybody's using Word or DocX, or perhaps you can answer these peer review questions aimed at a rhetorical analysis about their draft and submit or attach this as a file in the comment section when you're assigned this. Right? Either way, either send them back your draft with insert comment function or your answers to these questions about their draft, but you need to do that by April 9th. Right? The last thing here is just another file for you of things to think about as you read or look at or view or work with any source. These are questions that if you ask of your source, the answers are generally content things that you can then write about in a rhetorical analysis. So you might find that useful as well. Okay, so remember, you need to choose a source for this, then read this, engage with it, Complete its assignment by April 5th. Begin working on and drafting up your own written rhetorical analysis. See the examples which will follow this little segment in a second. Using one of two methods, either insert comment and reattach the file, or answer these questions and attach the file. And last, this is just to engage or help you engage with your source. What are some things I should be asking about it, in addition to what's the ethos, what's the pathos, what's the logos? What are some technical things that I can ask of a source that will help me engage with it in a way that is intellectually intriguing? And hopefully it's a source that you care about. Okay, that's about it. Let's look at the examples in the next segment and get you started on your way.
Okay, welcome back. You've seen the assignments, and we're going to take a look at here the examples in the book. Again, you can choose whatever you want. Choose something of interest, right? Consider looking at, gun violence through, I don't know, you're going to be an engineer. How are they handling that? Consider looking at maybe a general argument about the response to COVID-19, right? All you nursing majors, you're interested in that. And then you can rhetorically analyze that argument, that response. Generally, opinion editorials from people will work better because it gives you more to work with. A straight data analysis is going to give you very little. So consider what it is that you're choosing, but otherwise, you can choose pretty much anything. The examples in the book, the one is a textual example, and the other is a visual example. So let's take a look. The first is a call to arms, right? The one from Miss Olivia Fario. And the nice thing about this is that it's got the prompt in it, right? So that you can sort of see exactly how she was told to consider this. Her essay, and the requirement of the prompt for that matter, requires heavily on the use of the rhetorical appeals, right? I think that would probably be a worthwhile endeavor in ours, but it's not as essential to controlling your whole essay. In fact, some of the best essays won't rely on such a scripted sort of structure, but rather use the way in which their thing unfolds, right? They do it organically. The other example that's in your book is this one, The Wonderful World of At the Hands of Water, right, from Miss Meredith Carback. You've got the prompt there as well. Hers is about visual, and for those of you who are considering visual and MLA and you want to tell me what, nope, there you go. That's how you do that. You got a data mark or position mark the time at which whatever it was said, right? Note also the way that you've got attributions for quotes. He discloses that, he explains that, he said, right? Instead of rather, hey, here's a quote that I want to punch you in the face with as a reader. Right? Don't do that to us. It's mean to punch people in the face for no reason. As another word of advice, I would definitely check out both of these. As noted, one was second place and is currently published in a major work that is now circulated among, I don't know, a couple 20,000 kids or whatever that take Freshman 101, right? They all got a copy. Those of you who are interested in such, you could probably enter your essays in the contest and therefore become a published author yourselves, appearing right in neck with some of the others, right? No difference between the way that yours appears except for the inclusion of the prompt and perhaps maybe, I don't know, who you're going to land on. Scott Russell Sanders? No, there you go, Ansel Duo. So, Meredith Carback, Ansel Duo. Nice little bonus. If you're interested in that, email me and I'll tell you how to do it. But to our point, here's your example. Right? Two different examples. Note the way that they're written, right? How they say what they say, how they follow the sort of techniques and templates that we've tried to give you through the first 4 chapters of this text, as well as chapter 7, right? And then I've got some advice before we write our last essay for the year from this book. But these are great examples of the rhetorical analysis of a subject. Right? They've chosen subjects that interest them. You choose one that interests you, right? Of nominal length in order to give you something to say, right? And I think that will help you engage in the material a little bit more. Okay, that's it. You've seen what you need for the week, right? Don't forget you got to complete the peer review as well as the rough draft. You can do the insert comment function, or you can answer the questions and send it back to them. But either way, you got to send something back to them to get the full credit. You got to write the draft to get the B. So, other than that, hopefully you're finding some way to pass the time. I'm trying all kinds of new things these days. I found myself trying a diet that consisted of nothing but almonds. That's just nuts. All right, that's it. Have a good week, and see you next week. If you need me, email, right? And otherwise, best of luck on your rhetorical analysis. I look forward to seeing what you guys choose. Pick something that interests you, right? Pick something substantive that interests you.